I will call the meeting to order. This is the November 18th Planning Commission meeting for the City of Erie. First item is a roll call. Second, after call to order. You want to do the roll call?
Sure. Chair Richard Spiker.
Here.
Vice Chair Colin Russ.
Here.
Commissioner Carl Anderson. Commissioner Jason Wazorek.
Here.
Commissioner Douglas Bizzarni.
Here.
Director Jacqueline Spry. And Assistant Planner and Secretary Cooper Moore. I'm here.
Okay. First item of business is approval of last month's meeting, the October 21st, 2025 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Cooper, do we have any public comment or correspondence?
We have not received any public comment or correspondence.
Thank you. Items 4, old business. There being none on the agenda, I assume there's none to conduct. Okay. Move on. New business. Item A, subdivision and land development. Item small a, sassafras extension.
Yeah, if you have a short presentation.
Good afternoon, how are you doing? Fine. Good afternoon, Ashley Porter, Porter Consulting Engineers here on behalf of the Erie Western Pennsylvania Port Authority. And what we're looking at on the screen is the dedication plan for Sassafras Street extension from the Bayfront Parkway to West Front Street. This is the roadway that was reconstructed with new walkways, lighting and landscaping a couple of years ago. And now there's been communication between the City of Erie and the Port Authority to formally dedicate that roadway. And this is simply the dedication plan for that activity.
Okay. Any commissioners have questions for Mr. Porter? If there are no questions.
Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. All right. Can I have a
Motion approved.
Second.
Third.
Okay. We have a motion and a second and a third. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Next item, B, 224 Woodbriar Lane.
My name is Jeff Kidder, 1347 South Shore Drive. My wife and I purchased a home that is on 2 parcels, the house being on the parcel cut off on the top of the drawing there, and the backyard is the second parcel. When we purchased the house, it had a pre-existing fence and landscape along the southern edge of the backyard that made it look like where the property line was. When we had it surveyed, the property line was actually 10 feet further than the fence, 10 feet closer to the neighbor's house, Marty Eisert's house. So we decided we didn't need that yard beyond the fence, so we are selling it to the Eiserts, 10 feet plus that angle back to the original property corner line, and we are in for a minor subdivision.
Okay.
Motion approved.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any other questions or discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on. There's no rezoning items, no waterfront conditional use items, no blighted property designations, no, Item E, saldo fee resolution. Someone want to speak to that?
Yeah, I can give a little update. This is not an action item, this is an update. We are considering, well, we've proposed new fees for the saldo process for subdivisions and land developments. Council will be considering the fees at the meeting tomorrow night. And we have, in looking at neighboring municipalities and 2 other cities of a similar size across the state, have put together some new numbers that we think are more up-to-date and modern and in line with these other municipalities. So the page you have has both the existing and then proposed fees. And on the screen, I have some comparisons to these other municipalities, just for reference. So the left column, if that's big enough, the City of Erie's existing fees. On the right is our proposed fees, and in the middle are the fees of the other municipalities. And I'm not going to go through these line by line unless you'd like to, but just to show that we are pretty much in line or very closely in line with these other municipalities.
I mean, respectfully, 1,000 is double Allentown, and I mean, almost triple what we're at currently. Is there an expectation that the increased fees will translate into faster processing, or that we'll be able to commit to delivering approvals, rejections, whatever, in a faster timeline, so that when we look at time value of money, we're jacking up prices quite substantially in most cases? But what is a developer, what is a homeowner looking to build, or their forever home, what are they getting out of paying substantially more? Because I see this as only adding to the cost of building, which is not what we need to be doing. So perhaps, I don't know if you can speak to what how this does anything, or what will be accomplished beyond just increasing the cost of developing more housing.
Sure. Yeah, so these are partly, well, I should have opened, part of the update is to change some of the actual fees based on the saldo amendments. Now that we consider subdivisions and land developments different, the subdivision by waiver is gone. So some of the updates are just to address that sort of thing. Some of the increases are to, cover the time of all the reviewers, and then also hopefully we can invest in some more modern review tools that will streamline and speed up the process for these reviews. Right now we're doing it all by hand, but we're developing an online application so that someone could submit a subdivision or a land development through this portal, and it would track all of the information for us. They could just pay online, and then it would really cut down on the back and forth and the reviews and all the time we're spending to process these applications and make sure that everything's there.
So there's a hope that the money will go towards that, or has there been anything that has stated specifically any additional increase in fees collected will go specifically to tools and resources that expedite approvals and review?
There hasn't been anything that specifically has stated that, but that's the goal.
My concern would be the ratio of the cost between the minor and the major subdivision. Like, using the example we just saw, you're going to charge somebody $500 for moving a property line to face the realities of a fence. Compared to a major subdivision, we have a $50 million development. It's weird that there'd be a $500 differential between such scales of projects.
Yeah, I guess going off that, can you speak at all to how these numbers were arrived at, rather than just being in somewhere related to other municipalities? Is there some sort of more empirical rhyme or reason behind it? And I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just
Yeah, no, this is
piggybacking off
fine.
that.
Yeah, I mean, so we are working with a consultant from Michael Baker, as you know, and we've talked with him about fees and these updates to the saldo. And I think the fees are probably as old as the original saldo, at least several decades old. And so it was recommended that we consider new fees. I looked at a number of these neighboring municipalities to make sure that we weren't kind of crazy out of line with Mill Creek, Summit, and Harbor Creek, as well as Allentown and Reading, Pennsylvania. And a lot of it was averaging the numbers. The minor subdivision, most other municipalities that we were looking at across the state, even some that I didn't include in here, were including a number by lot. So we decided to move forward with that sort of example there. Some of the numbers, I think for Reading specifically, they're charging more than $4,000 for some of their fees. So to arrive at the numbers, I mean, we just did a comparison and sort of averaged out what seemed relevant.
Do you mind if I just speak quickly? We also talked with Public Works. As you know, the planning commission has not been, due to the current of the existing, what was the existing salary of land development is not coming in front of the planning commission or following sort of any workflow. So there's a new established workflow and process. And when we spoke with Public Works, all situations will vary for land development, but it might be possible that it might take Public Works 3 days or engineering 3 days to review a major land development. So we didn't necessarily look at, hourly rate because it's difficult because each situation is different. But just generally in terms of time associated with an hourly rate, it seemed like we were in line with what the other municipalities were doing, and probably under, to be honest with you, in terms of the amount of times and iterations that have to go through plans for minor and major. So, the existing salary was enacted in 1989. I think, Jake, you probably had looked at fees over the years, but I'm not sure if anything changed.
It's come up occasionally, but I don't think the fee schedule's been changed, at least not since I've been here. So almost 10 years, I've not seen any changes.
So we're quite far behind.
Can you show us a few more of those comps that aren't the local ones, like the cities of comparable size to us?
Apologies for one more additional detail, but there's cost to advertise as well. If we have, we also use additional use, right, zoning, but that's not necessarily.
But let's use Reading as a comp for a second. 4,000 for a major land development sounds more in line with the ratio than a $500 difference between the minor and major. Like, if we're going to increase them, shouldn't we be in line with a peer city? Like, Summit Township's great, but Harbor Creek, they're not really true comps to the city of Erie. Our scale and density is different. The scale of developments is different. I'm advocating that the ratio should be greater.
Yeah, it seems, 500, it's less about the dollar amount there. They're so close together for what are substantially different asks, or at least in my mind, that should be the expectation.
You're giving major developments a massive discount.
The major would have to submit both of those fees. I hear what you're saying, but they would do the preliminary and then the final as well. So that combine the two there. So the major subdivision would be at least $1,750 plus the lots.
Yeah. If somebody's spending, we're assuming we're in millions of dollars in major development range, $5,000 is not even a full percentage point.
Which is moving along.
It's not going to kill a job for the city to be fairly compensated.
I'm curious, sorry.
I think we wanted to establish, come up to some kind of benchmark at this point and revisit next year. I mean, we've looked at cities that have, their major is $4,000, just for preliminary, I believe. We felt that making that kind of hike from, $300 was a lot, and we wanted to kind of have a bit of a more gradual increase. I wouldn't call what we're going into as gradual, but at least we can revisit it in the following year. We did that the same with the historic preservation fees as well. We thought we would start out with somewhat more reasonable, and then if there needed to be an additional hike, we would look at that on an annual basis.
So I guess going up,
It's also comparable to what like Cooper said, to our neighboring municipalities, which to me, a developer's not going to look at a $4,000 increase versus what's happening in Summit, as differently as he or she would for a several $1,000 increase.
I don't think we're trying to attract the same development that Summit is.
yeah, they're not building the same thing. I guess real quickly, you mentioned you have something to revisit next year. Was there any discussion about, rather than making this something that has to be revisited, treating it as a annual cost of living adjustment, or some built-in mechanism that it just each year adjusts accordingly with price increases, price changes, so that we can actually have something a bit more sustainable rather than making it something that has to be approved each and every time?
I think we're looking at it more on a cost of it, internal reviewing versus instead of cost of living. Those two are looked at, but that was not brought up.
That's fine.
But yeah, we're looking mainly about how much time it's taking internally to go through steps.
Do we have those numbers by any chance? Do we have those numbers? I know you said that they range, but is there any benchmarking as to how long those activities take?
Yeah, I mean, as they start coming in, I know Cooper sometimes is spending days on just working with the developer, going back and forth with the process. It's going to range, and I think we'll have a better idea of that going forward for next year as we have more applicants that come in.
Okay.
This is already proposed on the
No.
agenda.
Well, as you're working on applications, are you keeping, are city departments keeping track of the time expended towards particular applications and tasks? I mean, knowing what kind of activities are encompassed in and accomplishing approvals would be important going forward to have some understanding of the amount of effort involved. And I mean, I can say from Jason, and I'm sure in our professional lives, we are used to keeping minute time records of activities expended towards stuff.
Yeah, we are beginning to track things in more detail that way. I have a large spreadsheet to track all of these projects and the date we get it and when we start reviewing it, and pass it off to other departments. But like, for example, we pass it off to the engineering department, and they have 30 days if needed.
Right.
So we're asking them to get a little more granular than just at the end of 30 days have it back and say the review's done. But that's also hopefully something that an online application could begin to track for us, and cut down on the time we're spending on that. If it can just tell us when we got things and who forwarded it, and we can build in things for other reviewers to say, spend 3 hours on this, thanks.
Right.
Have the other reviewers been receptive to that ask for, hey, can you give us a more realistic time taken for the review, not just at the end of 30 days?
Yeah, and we haven't had this process fully completed yet because we just passed these amendments and things. But we have a major land development that I think will probably be before the commission next month. That's currently in the review stages that we're kind of going through all this with.
And when is this going to be considered by council?
Tomorrow evening.
Tomorrow?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts? Thank you. Item 6, Department of Planning and Neighborhood Resources updates. Nothing today? Okay. There being no other business,
Move to adjourn?
second. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.